Record.
We're having one of those days, Martina.
I think am I recording? Does it say recording?
I can't even.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, we're recording. Okay. Okay. Welcome to another installment of Exploring Consciousness with the Nouveau team. And today we are going to explore the subject of abuse. And in order to do that, we're going to start reading a contract revocation. And what I would like to do, sorry, I'm getting distracted here by other people to come in. What I would like to do is I've shared the document. So I'm taking volunteers, and it's 5 pages, so it's quite long. So if you guys want to, we can share like one person, 1 page, and then see if we can just have a look at it after the first page, after the person read it, and then we'll take it from there. Shall we do that? Have we got any volunteers to kick it off first? The first page is the easiest, probably.
Okay. I don't mind doing it. I'm having trouble seeing it because the print is so small and my eyesight is not great. But okay, I can start it if you want.
We'll start it, then get started with it and see if you can do it.
Can you enlarge it, Martina?
Sorry?
Can you enlarge it, Martina?
Can I enlarge it? You're really pushing the buttons here. Enlarge it. God. No, how do I do this? Can you guys not see it? Can nobody see it?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, I can actually see it better now.
We'll make the best of it.
I'm just going to start.
We'll make the best of it.
Please. Okay, Mary, off you go.
Okay, I call to my sacred medicine spread, that which aids me in understanding my infinite spirit. The healer's tools have been laid out in ceremonial fashion. I call to the 4 elements and bring their essence into my sacred healing space in equal co-creation with all sentient kind. I call to the ancestors to be part of this healing, to bring communal balance with the words being manifested in the now. I call to the dreamers of the southern skies, our mediums to the innocence of our 7 future generations. In this shamanic healing moment of no time now, I ignite a sacred fire burning in my root, my sacrum, my belly, my heart, my throat, my spirit eye, to cleanse and clean my body, mind and spirit, and send prayers of vitality, prosperity and health into the alchemical flames of transmutation and transformation. I herewith choose to create a spiritual court of equity and engage all my I am selves, all shards, parts and avatars that have endured a strict, enforced and perverted discipline, emotional, physical, sexual abuse from caretakers, guardians, custodians, keepers, supervisors, and other unnamed as I was going through infant, puberty and adult years, that has squashed, pent up or limited my true feelings and forms of natural, authentic, joyful and sacred sexual creative expression. I am the apex being of the now. Claim back all of my power, from the very first moment of abuse until the very moment of the now. I let no piece of abuse go uncovered as I retrieve my energy in equal co-creation, non-duality, non-competition, non-hierarchical order. I do this out of love and compassion for myself and not out of vengeance and betrayal, for you are still my mother, my father, my sibling, my husband, my wife, or any other being I co-created with through ancestral karmic retribution, seen or unseen, in this and other lifetimes, dimensions, timelines, galaxies and universes. I, as this I am apex being of the now, I am going through a process of reclaiming all of my power and replaced energies, so that this sovereign being may learn the lessons from the abuse. I now neutralize, nourish, and nurture all potential concepts of charge and polarity that have been projected upon me by the abuse. I turn them, transmute them into creation, inspiration, and dreams. All dreams, traumas that have been enforced upon my body, my mind, my spirit, by the verbal, physical, emotional, financial, social, sexual, or any other abuse, seen or unseen. In this and any other lifetimes, dimensions, and time streams, I now, with every cellular level of mind, reject. Now, I can't see what I see now. I have to move it. Sorry. I've lost where I was. Where was I?
Reject that energy.
Can't see it.
Okay, let me carry on with the next page, okay? Reject that energy with such force of love that it is returned to the abuser as empowering forgiveness and unbiased compassion, because I'm linked to my I am heart fetus, knowing that love is the way and vengeance is not. I now remove unawareness, vengeance, and revenge, and all other aspects of that, from the abuser to the abusee, from the victim to the tyrant. So this I am now can be fully empowered as a heart-spaced aware love being, with no restrictions or limitations on the journey to the unlimited point of view of the sacred neutral observer, the true joyful consciousness explorer, and celestial experiencer of the eighth color of time. Every time my personal space has been violated, my energy been infiltrated, and my consciousness anesthetized, my knowingness been questioned, my awareness been undermined, and I revoke, recant, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate all the oaths, vows, contracts, and agreements to my abusers, as well as my numerous disowned shadow selves created through those violations in knowing and in unknowingness. All the decisions, judgments, conclusions, computations, separations, projections, and expectations of the self and others, of being damaged, being rejected goods, not ever being good enough, to be loved, being worthless, being bad, being singled out, being targeted, and I destroy and uncreate and return to zero balance, minus infinity. I in this adult, I am now. I open the trinity of my eyes and heart to the true potency and kindness of my being, and acknowledge all the times where I sacrificed myself because I had an awareness that I was stronger than any of my siblings, parents, friends, comrades, or else. And I took on the abuse for others in unawareness. The time is now to let go of all the old martyr and misapplied empath programs of self-defeat and self-deprivation, lack of self-value, and eradication of the self for the false empowerment of others. All the oaths, vows, contracts, fealties, and agreements from this and other lifetimes, dimensions, and time streams, with regards to having to sacrifice myself for others, I now pull the treacherous programming and categorically revoke, recant, rescind all my given consent and signatures. I, as an empowered being of this fifth world of peace, commit to my individual path of awakening through taking up the mantle of responsibility to personal choice and sacred discipline. I now destroy and uncreate all the decisions, judgments, conclusions, projections, and expectations of myself and others, made in and outside of this 3D reality, for taking on forward shame, blame, regret, and guilt to haunt and limit me in this particular lifetime, for having been the abuser, the narcissist, the perpetrator, the assassin, the enforcer, the slaughterer, the killer, and the execution in all eras of time and no time. All the sobbing energies and uncried tears of earlier versions of myself that felt that they could never get out of the imprisonment of mind and body, I now let flow those tears, transform and alchemize them into oceans of infinite possibilities. I ask those younger entities of the self to take a leap of faith and moment to grow up. Imagine him, her, them, to stand right in front of you and watch them gain in size, in shape, in form, in age, and confidence and courage, turning on their inner wisdom of their ancient past, present, and future to become the co-creators of the magnitude they truly be. Who wants to carry on?
I'll go on.
Go.
All the limitations, abuse, constrictions, regrets, that I have contained in my neurotransmitters, pineal gland, throat, hypothalamus, brain, visual field, cells, molecules, sensory, circulatory, sexual, and procreative organs, my vagus nerve, as echoes from the programmed parasympathetic gone awry. I now dissipate and release from my physical cells and expand out into the 99.9999% energy, space, and consciousness between the atoms. I now consciously choose to let go of all the vibrational, virtual realities that I have impelled within my sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system that keep me abused, constricted, indestructive, and addictive habit patterns and on autopilot. All the secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, unacknowledged, and undisclosed implants and explants on the on and off world, and hidden agendas of all kinds of abuse. I now destroy and uncreate them and send them back to sender with consciousness attached to never return to this mind, this body, this reality ever again. All the causal incarnations, incarcerations, incarnations, inculcations, invocations, spells, curses, and impelled beingness of pain embodied through the abuse and ignorant denial of my potency, I now untwist, unturn, unravel, untie, unground, revoke, and dissipate the electromagnetic energy from every single cell and molecule of my body. All of the stupidity and unawareness that I am using to unconsciously invoke and perpetuate the biomimetic and biomimetic mimicry of all my abusers, my parents, my siblings, my exes, my ancestral relations, all their pathways, pains, and realities that I have been choosing. I now state my sovereign fuck no more to all of that and release, disentangle, and disconnect all feedings, tubes, and cords with immediate effect. I am a sovereign being of the now, no longer prey to tacit consent in unawareness or awareness. For all the times the body thought it was the soul, or the soul the body, my body shut down and malfunctioned as the vehicle of experience due to subconscious painful awareness overload, leaving less space for the soul to be in the body or kicking the soul out of the body. I now claim it back, neutralize the charge and polarity left in the cellular memories, and herewith declare that I am the soul who chose this body and no one else. My skin suit is my tool, my vehicle, the home of my DNA, a loyal and trustworthy companion, and as such, my chosen instrument of a blissful, joyful, sensual humanoid experience. All the emotional hits I have taken onto my sternum, my shoulders, into my belly, my back, my head, like sledgehammers, knocking the spirit out of me. I now claim back my strength and transform this power of the impact into potency and sacred determination and commitment to serving the I am apex self. Everywhere I fell into the trap of false control, as the victim of abuse, I pull all old martyr programs and distortions of attention, instant gratification, false validation, perverted vengeance power in this and other lifetimes, dimensions, and time streams to finally take on the mantle of responsibility to my celestial inner dharmic warrior and celestial teacher of peace, harmony, and unity.
Thank you very much. Very powerful reading. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Who wants to do the next page? If nobody wants to, would you like to carry on?
Go on, I'll try,
I'll go.
Martina.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, go on, Martina.
I'm reading it off my phone. Are you going, Maddie?
No, go on, you go first.
Everywhere I have given control to others over me, through tact consent, given in ignorance, I now take back that power to transform it into questions, choices, possibilities, and contributions to serve the new rising of celestial consciousness on this planet and beyond. What bastardization, now I gotta fix my screen, sorry, of infinite being have I been using to tolerate the abuse by keeping up my blinders to what other people were choosing, as it didn't match my judgments of loving kindness and its distortions? I now, in this new frequency of being, a celestial mind and medium of the fifth world of peace, herewith acknowledge the kindness of my former infantile versions, and I embrace them with my warming, loving adult heart, for they can now let go of all the drama, hurt, and rejection turned against them and through their innocence. All the choices of my own that I kept refusing by trying to control and match the choices of others that I was choosing, I now allow them to come forward to guide and trustingly lead me to the fields of plenty, igniting the flame of ease, joy, abundance, and transformation, burning without end. What natural signature frequency, vibration, and harmony match can I and my body now be to finally start living radically alive on the creative edge of possibilities as an abundant, sacred, neutral observer, as a celestial mind and medium of peace, an equal co-creation, non-hierarchy, non-competition, non-duality, non-agenda, being in full mutual contribution of my fellow kind for all eternity? Self-illumination and free will is my legacy. It is one of the hardest ones, as it asks me to self-heal, nurture, at the activation of my sacred intent at the adult level. I now see my old victim programs in action, and everywhere I am arguing in my mind, two programs resisting and reacting, aligning and agreeing, creating moments of paranoia, like two poles of a magnet, keeping each other stuck in a false structure of outdated familiarity and content. With gratitude, I acknowledge the value of my old rebel programs of the past that no longer serve my natural highest evolution, and I now revoke all contract vows and agreements hereto and sack all staffing agencies and entities that serve rebellion and war rather than co-creation and peace. I use this moment of the now to declare my independence to any need of having to fight and prove myself for and against another in order to feel visible, realized, heard, and seen. I herewith disconnect. I sever and unplug all cords and energy insertions for still having to fight and flight against my stipulations of authority, of order, of rules and regulations, and I am no longer allowing my energy to be harvested through resistance, domination, and control. All back doors are now closed, and I simply rest, relax, and surrender into the knowingness of my heart's wisdom. I am the I am apex of the now, in trust and faith and charge, and no one and nothing can make choices for me and as me, as I am the true architect of my reality in divine co-creation with the beings of my choice. I create and generate supreme levels of consciousness, of happiness, vitality, and prosperity in interlinear and unlinear fashion.
Thank you, Daitina. Thank you very much. We've got the last page, Matty, for you now.
Okie. I now finally consent to my awareness being my responsibility at all times for the future. Is not something I plan to attach to, but I truly prepare for in the present moment now. I treasure and trust in the edge of unknownness, and I willingly add chaos, discomfort and free flow to good old comfort, routine and structure, merely as tools of choice into my toolbox of living, creating, out-creating and co-creating. Sacred healing, sacred recreation, sacred self-time is part of who I am, who I have been and who I will ever be. For me to generate moments of resolution and illumination through repetition and sacred discipline. I, in the ever-present moment of now, choose to acknowledge my seen and unseen world. I declare my spiritual strategy, my rules, my boundaries, my policies and procedures as part of every prayer that I have created in this lifetime, as a part of every victory that I've created in this lifetime. I build a house on the strong foundations of my learnings and victories that is me, and say every choice that I have made in the past about me, here, now, is present, here, now, and no other outside source may interfere without my full awareness and agreement. I am willing to accept my Blue Road responsibility that uses a different frequency of time, my ancestral connection and my Red Road responsibility, my physical world that I walk in. It has seen and unseen worlds layered over the uniworlds of Great Spirit. For we have victories we must start counting as a cyclical process of reminding us how time has passed through the spirit and the power of my memories coming back for the purpose of creating change, the purpose of making love and peace. For life is not what you think it is what you believe. Through the acknowledgement of my victories, I can see and create new positive programs in action to change the flawed programs with my infinite imagination and connection to all that is, using magic and gratitude and beyond. I can create new worlds, new scales, new forms of expressions, new structures that need labels to help the mind to go beyond them and become infinite once again. From this point forwards and backwards, in all perceptions of time, I honor my spiritual contracts with Mother Earth to become the greatest photonic being of light. I make this statement a standing energy sine wave of self-truth and trust in my own auric and akashic frequency. All sentient anymore. This is my manifestation, potency, discernment. I am apex presence, manifested in the now, and so it is. Aho.
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 Aho, that was
Beautiful.
super. Absolutely brilliant, Martina. Well
Well
done.
read, guys. Well read. Good.
Yes.
What are you perceiving here? What did that bring up for you? Did it bring something up?
That's so emotional. Just wow, it's so charged. It really makes you think about maybe what you haven't processed, because it gets stuck in that area that you must bring up and through. You know, you're not experiencing it every day. So for me, it was what I have stuffed, or maybe just didn't, maybe it just wasn't ready, right? It wasn't ready to come out yet. But then I felt so much release as well. Just, you know, oh, that doesn't serve you anymore. And the way that it was worded, it just naturally went away, you know, just bye-bye.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Daitina.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I think it helps you to understand. You see, when somebody says the word abuse, you instantly just think about, you know, third dimensional kind of abuse, you know, nasty little Jimmy Savile characters and so forth.
Mainly, yeah.
Yes, but actually, you know, but it's on so many more layers, isn't it? Really, and it really just set my mind going as I was thinking about that. And I was thinking, well, I don't feel like I've been massively abused, but now actually, after listening to that, I can feel it. You know, I can feel the much deeper layers of abuse.
I think we can simply say that every single one of us on this planet has been abused and has been the abuser, because that's just the nature of the karmic retribution, really. And if you really look at, you know, financial, social abuse and everything, every time somebody says to you, you're wrong, or I know better than you, that is abuse. If you want to look at it from that perspective, keeping, of course, the unlimited point of view in mind, because it always depends how somebody says something to you, how much emotion is attached to it. And having said that, we can just choose not to take that on. And when I wrote this, I don't know, I can't even remember, it just came up the other day. What I was trying, I think, when I tried to look at it not just from this perspective of this lifetime, and obviously going into all the different dimensions, time streams, and galaxies and universes, and really start pulling those hidden, secretive places where you were saying, you know, oh, I didn't even think that that was there. So, yeah, cool. What else came up? For anyone else who wants to say something or not.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, darling.
Oh, good.
Were you the one reading it?
I did read, yeah.
Yeah, fabulous. Very powerful when you read that.
Oh, it was just really, it was powerful. You know, so for me, the you know, the abuse that I felt that I had in my childhood, when I did a session with Andrew, he said it was, could it be possible that it's ghosts? And so he said, do a session with a hypnotist on that. So I've done a little of that, but I haven't found that particular person yet. However, as soon as he said that, he said it's hypothetical. And I could see it's a story. It's a story that I've believed for so long.
To being abused by ghosts. Is that what you're saying?
I thought they were real people doing it.
Right.
But right. I have no memory. I can't find it. You know, I see some of it, but I can't see the whole story. So the whole idea to me of it has become like almost steam, you know, steam coming off of something. Like it's it's just a thought. It's just a belief. And so when I was reading this and when everyone was reading, it was really powerful to step from that place where the belief comes up all the time, you know, the self-attack, the self-doubt, all that stuff. And it really does feel ghost-like to me now.
So your name is Dawn, is that correct?
That's right.
Dawn.
Yes.
So is there a possibility that you were abused by ghosts?
You know, in one of the rooms in this house, when I was a kid, 3 or 4 years old, I did see really horrible looking monsters coming out from underneath one of the beds. And it was in the same room where I thought the abuse took place. Mm-hmm. But all the time I try to go and look at that and remember it, I really can't remember it.
So I'll tell you one thing now. For me, it's perfectly normal, yeah? That you can be, yes, you can have sex with ghosts, you can be abused, you can abuse them. It's just part of our multidimensional setup.
Yes.
So
yes.
The main thing is now, as you probably dismiss it for yourself because other people would dismiss it, what are you doing is you starting your own self-abuse because you're not acknowledging what you know, right? Oh. So what if you were abused by ghosts, and what if that is nothing particularly wacky? Yeah. Certainly isn't for me. So what if you would acknowledge that? Would that somehow help you shift that awareness?
You know,
that whatever that is that's keeping you stuck?
it feels as if, it feels like the shift just took place almost right away. And I'm not sure if that's true. I mean, do I still, I feel as if, you know, I'm in a place where I'm healing this little girl, you know, bringing her up a lot, putting her in the center of my fire, in photonic light, and just really doing my prayers and ceremonies for her. And I feel like I just want to continue doing that, and healing the story, or the belief in that it was physical, that there were people to blame, that I was to blame, and see it as more ghost-like.
Okay.
You know, like it's okay if it was a ghost. I get that. It makes sense to me.
The procedure in terms of if it's now a ghost or if it wasn't, or if it was a being with a body, is the same. Okay.
It is the same.
It's the same procedure of, you know, acknowledging the abuse, not making it right or not making it wrong. And the one thing I would like to remind you is, if you have a capacity with the unseen world, then you have a great potency too. Okay?
Oh,
Absolutely, Martina.
So people who work with entities have a very strong relation because they have a capacity too.
wow.
So whenever you have that, you got to acknowledge within yourself that you're always the biggest entity out there. Yeah?
Wow. Yes.
Okay. Even if you're dealing with demons, you are the biggest entity out there. Your I am apex presence calls the fucking shots. Okay.
I'm moving into that.
Yes. And
Can I say a couple of words, Martina?
yes. Let me just do one thing, and just 1 second. So everything that you have not acknowledged about that for your little girl within there, yeah, let's just all here on the call now acknowledge that for that young lady within you, that she was not wrong, yeah, and there was no wrongness done. It was just what it was. It was part of the karmic retribution. We're going to all acknowledge that.
Oh
We're
my God.
take those energies. Let's just all do this together if you wish. Let all go that. And then we're also going to clear the electromagnetic imprinting from your body. Okay?
Yes.
And let that go now. Okay? Yeah. Good. Good. Okay, Matty.
Thank you. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi there.
Do you know, it sounds to me like there's a small crisis of faith going on. Like you don't really believe in you know, and maybe that's what the block was as well. When you get to that point where all of a sudden you're about to unlock what happened, it's your belief that stops you saying, is this going to be a real memory? Am I making it up? You know, those are the kind of things that block and stop one, you know? That's the beauty of the
true. Yeah,
absolutely. And the beauty of the revocations, well, you've got to have faith. But the beauty of the revocations is that, like Martina's done there, you can cover all areas. So you can, you know, just in case you may be leaving a door open somewhere, you can just shut them all behind you, you know? And it's that belief. But it just sounds like there's a little bit of a crisis of faith. I think you should trust yourself. I think you know more than what you think you do.
Oh. Yeah, somehow I had a feeling I had to really get to the root of it, to pull out the root, you know, the whole thing, the root of it. And I've spent, you know, many years trying to do that. And now it doesn't feel that way to me. It feels so different.
Yeah.
It feels like, like what you were saying, what you both said is like it's a, and I love what you said, Martina, about like forgiving, you know, forgiving, and just realizing it's just all, it comes and goes, it comes in and out. It's just an energy.
Yeah. And also
at the same time, when I was little, I also saw this great guru like guy with a white beard and in a white robe, and he was there as well. So it doesn't make a lot of sense that there was a great wizard in the house at the same time the monsters, the ghosts were there.
None of it makes sense. Yeah.
It does make sense in a way, doesn't it? It's almost like the
Well, like a
conflict
balance,
between, well, it's the conflict between good and evil and all of that, and the way our minds perceive things. It's just really a metaphorical representation of what was going on within yourself at the time.
That's right. That's right.
So, and with the forgiveness bit, always remind yourself you're forgiving yourself almost, for not necessarily believing in what was going on, for not trusting that it wasn't a bloody story. Hi Mary, now we can see you.
Yes,
Hello.
I got my camera sorted. Yeah.
Oh, that's so lovely. Yeah. That's so true. That's just very true.
I was just thinking as well.
I had something very similar. For me, I had my biggest abuser was my granddad, my maternal granddad. But he passed when my mum was 14, way before I, incarnated, and that was a very similar sort of situation. It's very difficult to kind of put your finger on anything or make sense of it because you can't rationalize it and you can't really cognify it too much, And then you're trying to use memories from when you were an infant, and so there's even more clouding there. And what used to frustrate me was I would have, like you're saying, there would be certain different types of beings and they would almost cross paths and you think, well, why don't you kick his ass? Do you know what I mean? But it is because it's a process of learning, isn't it? It's the process of learning. This is evolution. Even if it is slightly forced, we're still learning from all of these situations. I mean, you're still learning from it now, Dawn, all these years later.
Yeah, and also, it's not part of the curriculum, what we're learning at school, talking about ghosts and demons and all that. And when I learned it, there was always the one lesson in all of that is that you would always have contracted them out on some level. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Almost like everything had a value at some stage.
Yes.
Until it's gone awry because you obviously didn't need it anymore. Maybe that little girl needed that beard guy, as a guide because it gave you a certain comfort or something at the time. And then, of course, the other ones creeped in at the same time to show you the good and the bad and, all of that.
Wow.
Whatever that
and they
is.
can pretend to look like whatever they want as well. You can have a bad guy who can pretend to look like a good guy. I mean, the ETs do that all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So there's the one question when you do come across an entity in your dream time or in your awake time, you always ask them, what's your name?
I heard you say that. I love that.
Yeah, because most of them will then just dissipate.
You ask them, what's their name? And
what's their name?
What do you want?
What do you want?
Yeah.
Who are you? And then there's lots and lots of things, we can obviously talk at some stage, how we're going to clear it. It's very simple.
They'll get pissed off straight away when you say that. As soon as you ask those questions, and they'll get pissed off, and you'll know straight away. You'll know.
Yeah, and you know what? Some of them are actually the ghosts in particular. Some of them are so ignorant little shits. It's just because you die doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're enlightened. Yeah. Most of them don't even know that they don't have a body anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they then come to people with potencies with the unseen world. And they ask them almost for help. And as soon as you say, what's your name? Oh, I don't have a name. I don't have a body. Oh, shit. Off they go. It's like that, literally. It's so simple to clear an entity. It's unbelievable. I never knew before I started learning it.
Martina,
yes.
I've had somewhere where they've been haunting houses, even when they can make an actual manifestation, like breaking furniture, things like that takes quite a lot of energy. And, and I walk into the house and the first thing you get is resistance. But the moment they see you're not afraid, most of them just turn into like sobbing children. Most straight away, they're like, they start crying and you say, right, we're going to move you on now. And they're ready for it. They just don't understand. They don't have, consciousness to understand what situation they're in. But it's as simple as that to get rid of them. It's really not difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, always remind yourself when you do that they have electromagnetic energy, all the energy that is entangled with yours. that you then start clearing your electromagnetic energy. So I would say, you know, all the electromagnetic energy they have left in my body, my reality, just take it with you. Portal closed or whatever you want. There's so many things you can do.
I want to talk about the vagus nerve too, and so much with that. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, because the vagus nerve is the mystical. It's almost like the avenue to our mystical skills.
Totally.
Yeah. So every time you go into like fear or any type of emotion, you know, related to an entity or something, that throws and whacks your vagus nerve out of balance.
That's right.
That's why that vagus nerve meditation, or, you know, just putting the hands in the back is so really, really powerful, because it takes you back into equilibrium until the next thought comes in and throws it out. Yeah. I was going to ask Matty, you were saying your granddad was a bit of an abuser.
He was a nonce. Yeah, he was a nonce.
Was he doing that to your mum or to you?
Oh yeah. I have
to your mum?
five aunties and 2 uncles, and all the girls were sexually abused. And but this carried on. I mean, I had to do some hardcore alchemy to get rid of this particular. I couldn't even see it. It was Andrew that said to me that it was there. For me, I couldn't even see it. And this was actually at the time as I was removing entities and working, doing house clearances and so forth. I just had no idea it was even there. But then once it was gone, I could look back on my life and see all of the things, all the decisions where I'd been swayed and whispered to, and all of these perverted decisions that had been made that I took upon as my own, that absolutely weren't just my own, you know?
Exactly. So there's one of those clearings, particularly in that revocation, that really hones into that, where we are taking on, because on some level we know that we are stronger. And that's not a judgment, because some people, you know, are stronger with entities and some are not, you know. And if you have a capacity and you do go straight in and you deal with them, you do entangle with them in order to, I wouldn't say save, but to alleviate the pain or the experience for your aunties, for your mom and all of that.
Absolutely. Well,
and that's
I definitely have. Sorry, Martina.
That's the tacit consent that you give. That's where you entangle, and that's what's going to bite you in the arse. And that is it's quite a hidden one. So run that. You know, it's going to go on to the website anyway. So run that revocation a couple of times and see, because we can obviously,
and you know, the whole situation,
quite a bit of emotional charge in that.
Yeah, oh, very much so. And it's something that I actually did for you know, it was for the whole of the lineage, really, actually, you know. And it was ever so powerful, because what actually happened, and this goes to show how complicated some of these situations can be. What happened was, when he passed, he had a life review, and when he had to re-experience the things that he'd done, it fractured his soul and created a shard. And this shard I'd actually seen in Dream World. I didn't understand what it was, but it was like in a hell realm. It's a very, very disturbing place to be. I didn't like being there at all. And this shard is the shard that's now affecting others. And it was described, Andrew described it as a cousin to a succubus. Yeah. So it's not even the whole being itself either, just a shard of the being.
Yeah. So very, very powerful, you know, being fractured into, and still quite powerful in the fractured state. Yeah. So how do you deal with that? Not every entity wants to be cleared. Tell us.
No, yeah. So I just did a whole lot of ceremony, and I wrote out a very special prayer and revocation that put him in it, but also any other sort of beings and entities as well. It was like almost like you've done there, but not quite as eloquently. And then also, that's when I did my first alchemical brew of alcohol. And I put all of that prayer into the alcohol, about 15 to 20 hours worth of prayer over 3 months. And then that was all placed out around the house, and nothing can cross the border. nothing can get in, not him or anybody else. But I had to forgive him as well. That was a really good part of it. It was just saying, you know, I understand that you've got your journey and you need to carry on, but I completely disentangle with you, and you know, that's it. We're done as far as I'm concerned.
So he's still hanging around?
No, not for me, he's not. And I've managed to remove him from one of my cousins as well. His influence from one of my cousins who I'm close to, but he's very active within the family.
Yeah. You see, I just want to say something to that. He's very active in the family. So, and this is a really good example of you fortifying your reality. You put your sovereign boundaries up, and you at the same time are not stepping onto others, you know, boundaries.
No. Oh, no.
He will have still contracts with some of your aunties who are not willing to let him go for whatever reason, be it unawareness, be it ignorance.
And if I said that to my... Yes, and if I said that... Sorry, Martin, I'm getting a little bit of delay here. Sorry, it's...
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
You know, even if I mentioned that to my mum, if I brought that up, it would create such fear in her and some of my other aunties, because the whole psychic thing runs through our family, a very big family of women. I have 4 daughters, and it's a huge family of women, and there seems to be this sort of what they call the witchy bloodline. You know, and they have that, but this subject is so taboo that it would be absolutely impossible for me to bring it up.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's totally obvious what's going on, it creates such fear that I would not fancy that. No.
Yeah. And that would immediately put you into entanglement, because it's almost like you would create judgment of what they're choosing. So let them choose what they choose, know when to stay away, and take it from there. Yeah, cool. Thanks for that. That was a very good example there. Yeah. Anyone else who wants to bring something up here? Any type of abuse, doesn't obviously have to be entities, but it can.
The paragraph, Martina, in your revocation, where it said that, you know, when you're the type of person that feels that you're strong and you can kind of stand in the gap and take the abuse, that one really spoke out to me. You know, I am the adult now, and you're claiming back the space in that. You know, as children, and I would see myself in that, I would have done that as a child in unawareness, but I was aware, I was strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a clearing I wrote specifically for me.
Yeah, well, that's for me
that
too.
was part of my learning, and that was part of my realization of my potency, and I didn't know. I did it in total unawareness, and I had no idea what I was doing at the time.
Yeah,
and
I think in the beginning for me, I did it through probably some sort of misguided notion of love, you know. Making myself available to stand there and take this on, kind of thing, and I knew I was able to do it, but it took a while before I could see that, and it actually took a while to learn how to stop myself from doing it, and I'm not even sure I have completely learned. I think the default button is always there, you know, that I could go back to that position very easily and quickly.
It's that innocence in the child, that psychic sponge in the child, that innocence, that ignorance, that doesn't have the awareness, and it is pure love. It's not even a misinterpretation at that stage.
It is actually,
love. It's like, oh my God, I can't see my mom struggle with this. I'll take it.
Exactly. There's a purity in it, isn't there?
There's total fucking purity in it, and they take it on and on and on until they can't take it on anymore because it is too much of an overload, and that only comes out a bit later. Maybe it comes out of puberty already, but then, you know, it's being misidentified as, you know, are you, I don't know, boozing or drugs or, you know, all of that. Then it's already almost at the stage where you have to start untangling it, and who is ready at that stage to untangle it, you know?
No, you can have the intention and maybe try, but it does take years. And I think that there's some of that in everybody's life, really.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it's huge. It's absolutely huge, I think, that piece, because that leads as well to the empath and feelings for everybody else and taking
Absolutely.
it on. Yeah.
And at this level of exploration that we are at now is, you can cognitize this now. Oh, I didn't think about that. I'm a big fan of cognitizing because my left brain is very strong still, I've started developing my right now too, and I'm in balance, but I can understand this now for myself, which means there's a self-awareness, which means that is change. I don't have to now go back 500,000 times and clear it. A couple of times and it's done.
Yeah.
And when it comes up again, cool. I'm just doing this again. Okay, cool, great.
Yeah.
The pattern recognition.
Pattern recognition, just don't do it. Exactly. And the interesting thing is when you start seeing it in others, then a lot,
Yeah.
You start seeing it in others, and then you got to have that sovereign boundary and that understanding, knowing that, is it a kindness? Sometimes it's really a good question. Is it really a kindness to even point it out to that person?
I'm not sure it is. Maybe if just asked a general question, what it's like, you seem to be carrying a lot of whatever, and what's that like for you? It gives them a chance to explore it rather than pointing it out, maybe.
Especially with entities, we can all perceive entities, and stuff like that. Is it a kindness to say to people, oh, your entourage is quite big and stuff? What's the fear of God in them if they have never spoken about entities, So you can then say, entities, you can often have a direct dialogue with them anyway, because not all of them are contracted out, particularly to that person. It's more the demonic ones that are contracted out to them. And that's where you got to almost get permission from the person to work with them. But ghosts is like, okay, off. That type of stuff. And of course, we need to get ready for that, especially the ones who are the peacekeepers and the peacemakers, working in that celestial medium, frequency, because this is going to become more and more apparent as we are starting, the veil is lifting and we're starting to get more connected to all these different energies and species. And this is where, we need to step it up.
Yes,
and say, hey, okay, well, yes, I've had this experience, so obviously I'm good at that. Otherwise, I wouldn't see them. I wouldn't be able to work with them. And how can I make this almost like part of the work that I'm going to do in contribution to this new celestial consciousness? If that's
fun for you. And it takes bravery. It takes bravery. So you have to have been through the abuse. You have to have been through the grind in order to be as brave and strong as you are now. And then, most of these entities, a lot of people can't see them, can they? But the ones that I do, I think, my God, if people could see this in their house, they'd be terrified, But it's not frightening. One of the things that Andrew said once that just couldn't believe it. When Andrew just goes into his badass mode, and one thing he said was flush their head down a toilet full of shit. Have you heard him say that?
Yeah.
And
he likes to talk about shit and colonics.
It was insane. I actually managed to do that once to a room full of them, and they were powerless to stop me doing this. And these were rather horrible entities, these ones. And there was even a reptoid kind of being that was the only one that was able to try and break free. It was a simple process of grabbing him and putting his head back down there again, saying, "No, you stay there." And I really realized exactly how much power and strength we do have as human beings on this planet, celestial mediums of peace. It is a powerful position.
This is so cool that you can see them. I don't know. It can be scary, I suppose. I can't see them.
No, I can't either. I can feel sometimes.
I just know they're there. I just know it. I'm one of those clear cognizant ones.
Can you feel them, Martina? No.
My body. I don't know if you saw that yesterday in the show.
I
My
did.
body starts doing that when there's entities around.
Yes.
I watched it. I rewatched it and thinking, oh yeah, okay, obviously. They must think
I saw you.
Whacking that. But that's my body starts working with the energies and balancing it out. I've got a little hairdresser, and he comes to my house to do my hair, and he's very aware and can see them, And we starts doing the color and everything, and then he gets a bit like, I said, "What's going on, Ronnie?" And it's like, "Oh, I'm getting a bit itchy. There's so much going on here." And it's like, "Okay, tell me, where are they? They're my friends, and I don't mind having entities in my house, For me,
they're
it's
in
like,
every house.
cool.
They're in every house.
They're in every house. And I've got a lot of stuff, and I'm a car booter. I go to the market. So I got a lot of stuff going on. And I got people coming through the house a lot through clients and friends. And he's always like, oh, this is, oh, there's one. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, tell me more. Tell me
I know.
Freaks him out. And I'm like, loving it.
You can be a little bit naughty here as well. There are ways that you can create, like, especially using things like orgonite or beer and alcohol. There's ways that you can create sort of like certain structures that if somebody uses their free will to enter into your home and they walk through a certain structure, it's kind of, you know, it's crossing the lines a little bit, but
no, you got to be vigilant. You know, I'm not having any nasty shits around, that's for sure. But you know, I have
absolutely.
And as you got to ask yourself, that I have a body. My body has a capacity to deal with them. I realized that in the very beginning. You know, that, you know, I often go into places and, you know I'm just, by walking in, I'm dispersing them. You know, it's just what my body does.
Yes, I know that one, Martina. I know that one. Yes,
Yeah.
just as you're moving through. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're like, holy shit, what's this?
Yeah, and you need to acknowledge that, because that's one of the capacities, you know, that not everyone has, but that's part of you. Because if you're one of those,
revocations in your aura.
Yeah. And don't expect everyone to do this and have this, because that's your special superpower, right?
I must say, though, I do have a fear of seeing them, I have to say. You know, it's like sometimes I feel, okay, I know there's something there, but for God's sake, don't show yourself, because I don't know what I'd do.
Well, no, and maybe that's why you can't see them.
Maybe, yeah.
Because I was always going on. I was always going on about, oh, why I can't see them, and I'm like thinking, of course I can't see them, because it would probably freak me out.
Yeah.
I would, you know, I'd get quite annoyed with them and get the hell out of my vision here, you know. So I can't see them. That's fine. I'm
one of the first things that I did as an adult, Martina, one of the first, I mean, I've had ET contact since I was about 4 years old, but for me, it's kind of the ET contact that shits me up a little bit more than the ghosts, you know, because they're like a bit more real, if that makes sense, you know. And one of the first interactions I had with the ghost as an adult was literally sleeping at my wife's parents' house at the time before we were married, and I could hear a woman saying the Lord's Prayer, and I thought it was her mum. I thought, hang on a minute, she doesn't even know the Lord's Prayer. And as soon as I recognized that it was a ghost, she literally walked in the room and grabbed my wrist and looked me straight in the face like that, you know. And I've never been so frightened in all my life.
Oh God! I'm even frightened listening to you.
But you know what? She was actually just there to pray, and it turned out that was the site where an old church used to be. And the more I learn about them, actually, the less frightening they become. The less frightening they are. There are some that look pretty grotesque, but I don't really know what they are. You just move them on.
I always say it's like, you get nasty humans and lovely humans, and it's the same. They just don't have a body, you know.
Exactly. It's like saying that the whole of humanity is like the 1%ers. You know, it's just not. It's not the way it is.
So in terms of abuse, what else would you like to look at? I mean, we can go in so many different ways. Go.
What about self-abuse?
Self-abuse, yes. What about it? What's your question?
I just want to see, I just thought it was a good one to bring up. I think the person that's abused me more than anyone in the entire world is me, for sure.
Yes.
Drugs and drink and all kinds of craziness.
Yeah. Okay.
And even the self-talk, you know, the way we criticize ourselves and judge ourselves is so limiting. Yeah. We're our own worst critics.
The biggest self-abuse for myself that I'm thinking now, if you ask me that question, would be not trusting my own knowingness.
That is so true, Martina.
Making other people more important than what I know.
Absolutely. How many times do we do that, and have we done it throughout our lives?
That's and then
sorry, Martina, you go.
No, you're excited. Go.
No, go on.
I've got a really annoying little delay. I was just saying, and this is what's so synchronistic about this as well, because my own inner work just recently has been about realizing all of the times that I felt disempowered in my life, that other people have, you know, made me feel disempowered, or I've personally given away my power to other people, because I'm strong now. And I've had to go through a process of looking back. This is literally only the last couple of days. When you said abuse, it was very, you know, very, very synchronistic for me. And, you know, look back and just forgive myself for all those times when I gave my power away to people, you know. And it seems to be, it was, of all the abuse, it was probably the most insistent out of all of it. You know, you could, because we create false personas about ourselves, don't we? Before we know these things that we know now, then we create these false personas and these false stories to try to stop this abuse from happening. But we just make it worse, and we begin to abuse ourselves, or even worse, other people as well, you know?
Well, eventually we will, because the more we abuse ourselves, the more in the long run we'll become the bullies towards others. But you know what? When, as you're speaking, I'm also getting like, acknowledge the kindness that you truly are. Okay?
Yeah.
I know, yes, we are giving the power away, and yes, we should have known better and this and that, but you know, it's not always, you know, the victim is not always the victim because it doesn't know how to, you know, there is this underlying kindness. Okay?
Yeah,
and
you've hit the nail on the head there, Martina.
And I do want to say that, because, yeah, and then the question I have is, what is all this kindness good for if you're not using it towards yourself?
Yeah.
That's the next level of abuse, you know? Yes, you have this kindness and acknowledge that. And then the question is, what can I do with this kindness now that is a contribution to others and to myself?
And then I wonder what's blocking us, because I think sometimes there's an awful lot of fear. I think there's fear at the base of that, of not using that kindness for yourself. Or, you know, as Matty was saying about being able to say things to others, and you know, you don't say it because you feel you can't, or they won't hear it, or they won't understand it. But what we're afraid of is that we're going to get disconnected, because we want to stay connected and we want to belong. So we sabotage ourselves in order to do that.
So this is a great one to actually look at. Fear is part of the way how we are abusing ourselves.
Yes.
So let's look at fear. Let's look at the energy of fear a little bit. And fear, the way I always, fear is actually an energy of the future. Every time we're coming out of the present moment, because in the present moment, there's no fear, because you're right here, right now. Are you afraid right now? No. In that moment right now that you're in, you're not afraid. It doesn't work that way. Yes. But as soon as you go out, if you wish, out of your body, out of that conscious awareness of the present moment, of the now, into the future, yeah, it is an anticipation, and you don't know what's going to happen in the future, but that's normal, because the future hasn't happened yet. Okay? Yeah. So it's no point to be afraid of it. The question is really, you know, what the hell am I doing in the future? And I know I'm constantly in the future. Yeah, I'm not afraid of it either. It doesn't make a difference though. Yeah, you're not supposed to be in the future. You're supposed to be creating in this very moment of the now to create your future. And it's almost like, I did read this the other day and I love it to bits. It's not, you're not planning the future. You are preparing right now for the future.
Yes.
And that preparation will lead you wherever it needs to lead you. And then you just follow that energy that fills that lightness.
Yes.
That the preparation in the now will guide you.
It's so an unfolding.
It's an unfolding. It's like,
yes.
Yeah, one, you know, it's like, I don't know where I read this. It's a book. You open the book, there's nothing in it. But this is your purpose, if you wish. It's nothing. It's a complete blank book, blank pages. And then as soon as you open the book, there's the first little step. And then as you carry on with the next step, the story unfolds.
Yes.
So the fear it's a distractor implant. It's not real. It's what's being used in the system to limit your journey. Okay? And it's perfect because the propaganda uses fear so effectively.
We're so saturated in it. Everything you turn on, the global narrative, everything.
And it's a choice.
It is.
And most of the time, the other thing is, look at it. That fear that you seem to be carrying, is it really yours? Just like having talked about the entities. Is it really
What it manifested
yours?
with me is it manifested as shame in my life, because I come from such an ultra masculine, I mean, the town where I grew up was crazy, like the Wild West. And it was such an ultra masculine environment that I was always a very gentle boy until school came around and I felt inferior. And then I had to reevaluate and try to find a way out of it. It took me many, many years to become what I considered as strong. But in becoming strong, I took on lots and lots of shame for all of the fear that I felt. But now that I look at it, I think, well, that fear was kind of justified in a way, you know, and there was nothing to be ashamed about. It was just experience at the time. I was in somewhere that I didn't feel comfortable. I wasn't comfortable watching boys beat the fuck out of each other. You know?
So exactly.
Yeah.
Was it actually, Matty, was it actually just an awareness? It's just an awareness that there was shit going on.
I think I felt inferior, and I think I just felt like, because everybody else seemed to be less afraid than I felt inside. And so I felt shame for being afraid, because I thought being afraid wasn't what I was supposed to be doing.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Can you see what this is? Yeah, this is like, whoa. It's like going against your awareness here.
Yes.
It's going against your awareness. Oh, I have to be now afraid too because all the others are. And in reality, you knew what was going on because you just were aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the
then
moment that I stopped caring what other people think, the moment I stopped caring about what other people thought, then it didn't even matter. I'd happily be afraid in a moment and admit it. Couldn't give a crap.
Yeah. That's where the strength actually comes from. Once we can say it and admit it and not care. But it takes a while to get to that.
Call the lie. Is it a lie? Truth? You know, truth, is it a lie? Is this really fear? And with fear, the other thing is, because think of the energy of fear. It's almost like it's very often misapplied with excitement. So for instance, you go and you have to, I don't know, do a presentation or go and, you know, go for an interview or something. And you have these, like, it almost feels the same butterflies here.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so afraid, the heart. Are you afraid or actually excited?
Excited.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how often do we misapply and misidentify fear or excitement for fear or the other way around?
And what a difference it would make if we actually said, I'm so excited, instead of saying, I'm terrified. I'm terrified of going out on the stage. Oh my God, I'm terrified. I'll open my mouth, say something wrong. But if you said, I'm so excited, the difference that would make to the way you would go out. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, Mary. And also, and just saying, you know, is this fear or excitement? You know, I love questions. This is my access consciousness background. I'm ever so grateful, because is this fear or excitement?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's that. And it's, so it's the defending against your own awareness. And that's where the abuse comes in with fear. Yeah. It's actually defending against your own awareness. And that's something we need to stop, ladies and gentlemen, because that's just crap.
It is. And it's not turning up for ourselves. You know, we all
it's not turning up for ourselves. Exactly. It's exactly that what opens the doors to abuse, to judgment, and to not creating what you know that you can create.
And also, I think in the extreme, it opens the door to actually losing touch with your awareness, because now you can't see the wood for the trees. So you go so far down that road that you lose that.
Well, you're making yourself powerless. And you're making yourself powerless so often until you believe it, isn't it? It's until
that's it.
It's not what you think, it's what you believe. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
You believe you're powerless. Well, what do you think you are? You're powerless if that's what you believe. You know,
it's your creation.
It's your creation.
Yes.
And as much as you created it, you can also uncreate it.
Yes. We've all done it.
Oh yeah, and we will keep doing it, you know, and that's okay.
Yes.
Because now when we do it, it's like, okay, cool, done this again. Okay, baby, let's move on. Let's do something different next time.
Yeah, it doesn't last for long.
Get that spiritual strategy, you know, I have a little, you know, joke about it, you know, and stuff like that. So that's good. Fear, that was a good thing about fear, actually bringing that up, because that's part of the abuse. We could almost say that every emotion that we are misidentifying, misapplying, and using against us is abuse.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So we could do a Zoom at some stage about just every single emotion and looking through that.
Yes.
What else comes up for you guys when we're talking about that? I don't want to talk all the time.
Something that I recognized is my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so she would make things up when she was younger that were abusive. Things like, oh, you know, to me, you're abusing me, or a child at school, the way that she was viewing them was in a very abusive manner. However, you know, it could have just been to someone else, or to some, you know, just, oh, she's just making fun of your shoes. But, you know, to my daughter, it was so much more. It was very exasperated. Mm-hmm. And then it became like a pattern where it layered on top of each other energetically with her, until she actually created a life for herself that was, everybody hates me and everyone's abusing me. It was so difficult as her mom to navigate through that while not stepping on her journey, but still trying to guide her. And this started really, really, really young. And, you know, now she's 18, so she is starting to unpack and realize that she did make up a lot of her abuse stories. She would call her dad when she was with me and say, my mom is hitting me, when I wasn't.
So you guys
you
guys were divorced?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a manipulation tool. Yeah.
Yes.
Abuse is a huge manipulation tool, and it doesn't matter how old the kids are. The younger they are, the best manipulator of note.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm getting very, very smart little schnook, you know, manipulated the shit out of you.
Yeah.
until she started believing it.
Yeah, and when she started to believe it, was when it got so difficult for me, is what I'm saying, because I can't unpack that for her. And no matter how much I would say, hey, that's not true, I knew within myself, don't say that, because you're just reinforcing the energy that is going into this experience.
So how is your relationship with her now?
Well, she's still living at home, and she is still stuck in the abuse pattern.
Yeah.
Is she willing to change it? Because she's 18 now, so you're already at the level. Younger is a different story. As a mom, you still have, you know, you can do stuff without crossing the boundaries.
18 is very young these days, so.
Depends, yeah. I mean, would you be open for you to work with her along those lines, or?
Yeah, she's open. She watches videos. She's a self-starter, self-learner. She did not finish high school because of her, like we've been talking about on the other programs, those little inner rebellions and all, you know, her willingness to say, this is the way I want to do it. So it's a challenge within that. But as she's unpacking the real abuse that happened to her, what I had to do for myself was just work on myself, because obviously that's all I can do is, okay, well, this affected me. This is a session that I had with Andrew as well, was kind of like the next year journey I can do with sweat lodges and releasing that trauma that it caused me and her dad and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just curious on, when we're witnessing someone else ghost themselves, when it's like a trauma that isn't true, something that, like I said, not just the manipulation, but things she would actually believe, where it didn't have to do with playing mom against dad. It was like she made it up.
Yeah.
She would make up trauma.
So does she still do that?
She makes up drama.
She does. Okay.
Yeah.
So would you be willing to this abuse revocation, if you say to her, say, look, we just, did this thing today on the Zoom. Do you want to read it?
She would.
She would. Then do that. And then see what comes up for her. The thing is, you got to go with the empowerment approach here. And don't tell her what's right or wrong, because you don't know what's right or wrong for her.
Right.
You have, at this stage. So you just got to say to her, look, I saw this. Why don't you read that? If you want to chat about it, let me know. And always put the ball into her court. Yeah. And then if she hasn't said anything, did you read this? Or what do you think about it? What do you know, about that?
So when she does do those contract revocations, she's actually really, really enlightened, really, really special little girl. I kind of attribute her to an oracle of some sort,
She's 18, darling. She's 18. So she's not a little girl.
Right. And that's where I'm at, is when we talk about all these discussions, is being the witness to someone else's suffering, someone else's trauma, navigating through that trauma, holding space, and still living in the same house with them. It's very challenging.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. I've experienced exactly the same thing, Daitina, as well. My oldest daughter is 20. Yeah, my oldest daughter is 20. And for me, it was a real rites of passage, realizing that there is nothing that I can do. Yeah. And she just has to walk her own path now, and that it was a big thing for me. It was a real eye-opener. I didn't, obviously if I'd have looked ahead of time, I would have seen that it would have been coming, but you don't expect it, do you? Because you just think that they're going to be these perfect little babies forever. It was a big learning curve for me. Yeah.
So, and let me ask you a question is, Daitina, why would you choose that for yourself? Why would you have chosen? Why would you choose a daughter like that for yourself? What's the value of choosing your daughter going through whatever she's going through?
Realizing my max capacity for holding the sacred neutral, not being judgmental, and there's a motherhood energy that's coming up right now, learning the balance and learning what motherhood really is, and how motherhood is applied to our world consciousness, and kind of like rewriting. I feel like there's this bubble inside of me that's been coming up for about 10 years of the domination and control within just that motherhood. That's my daughter, this is my property, or this is how a child should abuse that. A parent should allow the child to abuse them because they're the child. Like, I don't know, just all the dynamics of motherhood is something that has been like a book or something I've wanted to write about. And so that's a benefit, or just a personal journey that she's brought up for me. And then the benefit of how, or like a realization that life is very, very difficult.
Okay, so that's a judgment. Yes. That's a judgment. So
right?
destroy that. So
yeah, but that's what I've been through, is all I'm saying. Those are the I just tried to pinpoint your answer or your question.
Yes.
So what about you starting that book? And as you start that book, you probably need her input. And then you can start making that a co-creation. And as you write that book, it's going to be the healing for you and for her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I feel that too, really strongly, Daitina.
Okay.
Yeah. It just
life isn't
right.
perfect. That's the thing. This is the school of hard knocks, and we have come here to learn these things. And so many people get strung up and hung up by their children as they're young. And what people don't seem to realize when they have young children is that majority of your relationship with your children will be as adults, adult to adult. That's a long time
That
that you
is
have
true,
that relationship. You know, it's just you know, so many years, 20 if you're lucky, that you have that kind of relationship, that dependent relationship.
And also, I do a bit of work with children, and I just find that interesting, Ditina, you're sharing there about how she makes stuff up. With some of the kids that I have worked with, they have come from difficult enough backgrounds. And I have found that with some of them, you had to be quite careful around them, because they would make stuff up, and it could be, you know, they could say quite dangerous things, you know, like you did something to them or you hit them or whatever. And as I worked with them, I discovered that I just tried to talk to them about it and acted as if it was real and see where it was going to go. And where it used to go was, what they were looking for was love, really. They wanted the attention. They wanted, because it's their lives seem to have been lacking attention in their home setting. So they just wanted to get you to engage with them in that. And even to engage with them in that fantasy was attention. It was time. It was love. And that's what they needed. I'm not saying that's what your daughter needed, but I'm just sharing it from my work with some children that I've worked with.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you for that.
I think that's a huge piece of the puzzle there.
Yeah.
For all of us.
Yes.
Well, for me, what I can recognize within that is I overparented when she was younger. Okay. She was my everything. So I gave her too much attention.
So she kept looking for more. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
Bottomless pit.
So
and that actually applies. Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm not buying this. Sorry.
Okay.
Because that's a judgment.
Yes,
that's an interesting point of view. So I would run interesting point of view on this one.
Okay.
Interesting point of view that I have this point of view that I overparented her. Interesting point of view that I have this point of view that I overparented her. Interesting point of view that I have this point of view that I overparented her. Is there still energy in it, Tina?
I think it's just a recognition and acknowledgement, really, that I did give her so much of my love and attention, and
how is that wrong? How is that wrong?
I don't know if it was necessarily wrong in the moment. I think in the moment it was perfect. However, I can look back in hindsight and say, well,
Darling, that's a typical. I'm gonna pull you up on this one, because that's a typical thing that everyone makes a parent, puts parents into judgment. You've done too much. You've over parented, and that you've made it too easy for them. What the fuck is that? The child,
right? But
it's supposed to make it easy in a way.
Yeah, but when they start.
I can hear what both of you are saying, actually. I hear both of points of view here.
I'm picking her up.
I know, but I do hear both points of view. I can hear where Ditina is coming from as well, because I think in her experience, as she has experienced her own parenting, she feels she gave too much.
Yeah, but that's not really... I'm not buying it. I get that. I totally get it. I'm just playing with you, Ditina.
I get yours as well.
There is a conclusion in it. Okay?
There's a difference between
love. There's a conclusion in it. And that conclusion keeps you stuck. Let go of that conclusion. Let it be right. Let it be not right. It doesn't really matter. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just playing with you.
No, I see what you're doing. And I see what you're doing too, though, Martina. Yes.
Because I tell you what, I've got the opposite. I would say I didn't do enough for my daughter.
Yes.
That's self-abuse. Just as much as I've done too much. So I fucked her up because I've given her too much love. Hello?
Yeah, maybe I messed her
up. I didn't give her enough. Yeah. It's a conclusion. Conclusion is judgment. And we don't want to have any judgments. Let that go. Destroy and create. And then see what else comes up.
Right.
You know, Martina, and also the thing is as well, we you know,
but the aligning and agreeing.
Beings of their own right. You know, so you're right, because each one of these beings is their own being. They come in with their own contracts. They come in, and you have contracts, and so you know, what's to say that you're giving them too much of something or not enough? Maybe you gave them exactly what was needed in the moment for the resolution that was required.
At the end of the day, it's all story. Okay, I'm not right, I'm not wrong. I haven't given too much to my daughter, I haven't given enough to my daughter. It's totally irrelevant. It's the story that keeps us locked in the abuse.
Which probably exasperates the situation.
Absolutely. And it doesn't allow us to look at what is happening right now. Because whatever conclusion we have, whatever judgment we have, makes us go back to that judgment. And so, which means we can't see anything outside of that judgment. Yeah. So the pot and pork, I just want to explain that it's point of creation. When you create a point of view, I always use that example. I love men with blue eyes. It's a conclusion, it's a judgment, which means in my world, I can only see men with blue eyes that would be available to me, right? I can't even see the ones with the brown eyes, because as I create a point of view, I destroy all the other infinite possibilities. Remind yourself, this is infinite possibility universe. As soon as we make a point of view, a conclusion, a judgment, we're limiting our choices.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah. And, you know, all I'm saying is every conclusion that you have, destroy and uncreate it. Let it go and then see what awareness is going to bubble up. And maybe other stuff comes up. Maybe you didn't give her enough. Maybe you didn't give her enough love. Maybe you gave her the wrong love. We do now. Oh, you fuck.
That's what I was going to say. There's a very big difference between love and you know, not teaching a child how to take care of themselves. Because doing everything for a child, you know, making all their decisions for them isn't necessarily love, is it? You know, it depends on your definition of what love is and how you feel you were loved and what you felt you were missing.
Yeah.
That's why the best thing to do is letting go of all of that and then see what arises. But I think that book thing is a great idea. Got a lot of energy in that one. I love that.
I'd buy it.
Yes.
Yeah. Love that. And then go.
See, so not to bring it back up, because I do see all of these perspectives. It's that the buildup of the attention, the buildup of the acknowledgement of her own existence, the energy that was getting given to her. For instance, I would give her like hypnotherapy when she was going to bed, and positive affirmations, and just probably filling her up a little bit too much from myself, right? So again, not debating, but then was there that possibility that I set that up for that need for attention, which created the manipulation, which then she just became this victim to life of always stepping in and being the abusee or having abuse energy. That's all. It's just
so to just take that heaviness, that heavy energy, and destroy and uncreate that energy. Okay. I completely hear what you're saying. We could align, agree, resist, react. It's totally irrelevant, because she's now 18. You've got her in front of you right now. She's a young woman now. And now it's a matter of, okay, girl, how can we do this now? It's no point to look back into this or that, you know.
So when you're looking back and you're acknowledging yourself, the best thing at this point from this view perspective is to say that's a conclusion. Well, whether you're looking at it, you know, as a parent
it's not just saying it, it is a conclusion. It is a conclusion.
Right.
So what you then do is you destroy that conclusion and you ask her what else is there. And it might come up again and say, okay, so what is this? What is this really?
I'm looking at this as a homework assignment for myself. So yes. I'm saying, what's the clarification of my homework?
What's the clarification of your homework? Well, I would look at that strong point of view that you've given her too much love.
Okay.
And what did you learn from that, Tina, I think? If you think you've given her too much love, what was the learning in it? You know, what did it teach you? Yeah. I know you don't know now, but you might just
right as homework, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, you know, I mean, I'm a bit of a, you know, wouldn't say bitch, but you know, now my daughter's 21. So every time, Mama, what you doing? And you know, you shouldn't be talking to me like this. I always said, look, you chose me as a parent. I'm sorry. You know, bring the sense of humor in it, because it just completely blows it out of, it's like,
yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and
That's
then
good.
in the last, in when you least expect it, she throws the shit back at you. You know, I was like having a go about my partner, and said to Emma, her dad, la la la, and she said, remind yourself who you're talking to. This is not appropriate to talk to me like this. Okay, you know, so make it a game. I mean, she's 18. Yeah, and there's one tool, and don't misunderstand that. But let me ask you the question. Are you willing to lose your daughter?
Oh, I have had that question in my mind so many times. Yes.
Yes. And if you truly, truly, energetically can say yes, with a smile on your face, knowing that it doesn't have to happen for you to really lose her, that's when you're getting somewhere. Because everything and everyone, you are not willing. Okay, so losing is not the right thing then. Are you willing to destroy your daughter? That's a different energy that's coming up here now. Yes, work on that. And again, don't go out and shoot her or anything, please. You know, but this is the thing, because everything, forget about the daughter now, but everyone that you're not willing to destroy or lose will have a hold on you to abuse you.
Absolutely.
And the relationship.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And that's not selfish, because I'm talking energetically.
Yeah.
Because I am willing to lose my husband, my daughter, my cats, my house, my everything. That gives me choice.
And
true
freedom.
Choice. Freedom and choice to choose. Do I choose to be with them? Yes, on a daily basis. And I'm happy that I'm choosing it. Not every day, but you know, I keep choosing it.
It's an interesting concept, Martina. You know, I had the same thing with my eldest daughter. When she left home, I mean, she found a boyfriend and moved in with her boyfriend, and you know, they're doing what they do. But she, like Bettina said, she's very clear. She became a being of drama. Everything's an issue. Everything's negative. And you know, when she moved out, then you know, I just felt like I had to try to communicate. I had to try to do the right thing. It was my duty as a father to make sure that at least once every couple of weeks we at least had a conversation. But she was completely resistant to it. And it goes month upon month upon month till I ever speak to her. I couldn't even get hold of her to give her presents this year. And, you know, she's just not interested in meeting up. And in a way, it set me free. You know, it relieved me. I'm like, well, obviously that's the relationship she wants to have. 5 years down the line, it may be different. She might say, do you know what? I want to get to know my dad now as an adult. But it actually relieved me of that pressure. And I feel no remorse, and I feel nothing bad on her and on me. We just know where we stand.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
And is that pressure really, oh, am I a bad dad now? Have I failed her or something?
I think that's what society wants me to think,
Exactly.
but it's certainly not the reality.
Yeah.
No.
And you know, you're setting yourself free and you're setting her free.
Exactly.
Because, and the minute you do that, you know, you give them a little bit of time to do that and think they will be back. They will be back.
At some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
At some point.
There will be questions.
Yeah. And also, let's not kid ourselves. Just because they are our children, or just because we're all grown up in a family, it doesn't mean that we have to stick it out. I mean, we know enough now how we choose contracts and why we need to get into a certain soul family to create certain things. Doesn't mean that we have to hang around.
No.
And she's doing exactly what I did as well. I did exactly the same thing. So there you go.
That's an interesting one too, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you're back, you see? And that's the thing. And this again is a conclusion. Oh, you have to be... are you a good dad? Are you a good mom? Are you what family are you? What's wrong with you guys? I mean, my family is, we're 3 people living in the same house. We, you know, we love each other on many levels. We're doing our own thing. And that's it.
That's great.
And that's it. And that works
for
every single one of us. No, sometimes, but no. No. But we would abuse each other. if we would indoctrinate our truth. And I have done it. I've done it.
Yeah.
I've indoctrinated my truth. I've tried to force the evolution. You should be spiritual, this and that. Get the hand. Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Yeah. No.
Me the abuser, me the narcissist, yeah?
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah.
No. But true love is then, if she does break, if she does fall down, you're there. You're the mom. Say, come on, babes. I got ya. That's true love.
Yes.
That's true, you being there. Whatever she chooses, you will be there to pick her up.
And the other way around for me sometimes. My little babies, sometimes, you know, they're the ones that give me the encouragement I need to keep going. Just their innocence and their beauty. I get a lot from it.
Yeah.
Powerful, these young kids now, isn't it?
Cheeky as fuck as well. My God, just hear some of the things they say.
Well, look at the father, for God's sake.
Yeah. Excuse me.
What else you got, guys? We got a bit. We can, if you want, we can chat a bit longer.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still going.
20 to 7.
I messed up in the beginning with my not being able to put the thing up. So have we got any more stuff that's coming up for you? Anyone who wants to join
I got
in?
a crazy one, Martina. I wonder if you've got any stories like this. Have you ever been abused by extraterrestrials?
Tell us more. That's exciting.
I'm asking you.
Oh, me? Oh, not that I know of. No, I don't think I have. I had sex with
Is it Martina?
I have.
Oh yeah, tell us. If you want.
Oh gosh. Oh,
It's a hard one.
Yeah, it is. That's why I was laughing. Like, really? You want to talk about that?
Because you don't know. The thing is, you don't know. You don't have complete memory of it. That's the thing.
Exactly.
So how do you know? Tell us.
You just know. You just know. I mean, if you don't mind me jumping in, Martina, I'll give my quick and then maybe you can see if you want to tell your story afterwards. So for me, like, I've had extraterrestrial contact since I was little, and it really amped up after 2012. And there was a period between 2012 and 2013 to 2014 when it was, and that was actually when ships were actually coming and taking me up onto ships and things like that. But I was having contact with the positive extraterrestrials, but the problem was that what I understand now is that my consciousness would have been destructive to them. So my consciousness was always altered in these interactions, and so it's almost like a dream state. And but one of the things that was happening to me a lot was I would wake up. Do you know the expression blue-balled? You know that expression? Yeah. So I would wake up blue-balled, like I've been at it all night, you know, and it was very, very unnerving. And then we also had things like my wife would be pregnant, then it would be gone. Then she'd be pregnant again, then it would be gone. You know, and we had these kind of things going a lot.
Was that in your dream?
I don't actually have the memories of those. Sorry?
Was it in your dreams your wife was pregnant and it was gone, or in reality?
No, this was in physical. This was in physical.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had all kinds of things. I've got microchips on me and implants and all kinds of things. Yeah, most of it's positive, but it was the sexual stuff that I wasn't quite certain about. And I still to this day haven't got those memories yet. So I don't know whether it was positive or negative. Maybe I let it happen. So yeah, go on, crack on. But I don't know. That part of it for me just seems a little bit, you know.
Okay.
So there's a lot here, and I'd like to talk to you, Maddie, about that. I think, you know, just you and I, it would be amazing conversation.
Why don't you do that?
Yeah, but I can say that as far as the sexual abuse, I had a session with Andrew who was able to really pinpoint some of the issues I was having, and he said that I was pregnant all the time, every 2 weeks, and it was going on for, you know, years and years, and that I had hundreds of these pregnancies. I think he said something crazy like over 200 pregnancies, and there was a lot of sexual abuse / AI / all of that happening. So I have a lot of homework I'm working on right now.
You know, the thing is as well, even the positive interactions can become somewhat borderline, because, you know, I was taken upon a ship, and this is with a very good friend of mine, it's a Pleiadian chap. Some, you could call him a brother maybe, but they took me upon the ship, and my consciousness was altered, and I was replicated, and there's like 300 and something other versions of me running around, and you know, I just didn't have conscious awareness of it. You know, it wasn't given conscious. Even Andrew said, he said it wasn't bad, but it was core, right on the line. You know, and it's just a strange one where it comes with the ETs, because this is again where we begin to say, you know, why am I not having absolute conscious interaction? Why do I not remember this? You know, and you inferiority can start to become a problem or an issue here.
Yes.
And then you begin to distrust any other people. But it's a strange subject, that one, the abuse of extraterrestrials.
Wow.
Yeah, and it can be very violating, for sure.
Because nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And were the fetuses removed, Tina? You know, when you were pregnant every 2 weeks, like what happened to them? Did Andrew tell you they were removed, or?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they would either, I was a host. There was 4 or 5 different. So it was, they were implanting babies. They were also removing my eggs. And then I was also being pregnant through my own eggs. And so I have a lot of babies out there.
Yeah.
And then also the, I think I have 60 or something clones.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So, Diatina, how would you think that has impacted on your relationship with your own daughter?
That is something I'm chewing on, because that's huge.
On some level, she would know that
right.
you're not, that she's not your only daughter, which could almost, and I'm just blank throwing that in now, give you a bit of indication why she was seeking so much recognition.
Seeking so much recognition, and also abusing me through different means and words and different ways. Because almost she knew that I feel that she knew that there was something going on with me, and she was trying to like dissipate or get rid of whatever was in me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could be from a place of protection.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Love.
So that's quite interesting. So maybe that would be actually, I don't know if you ever had a conversation with her along those lines, if she's ready for a conversation like that at some stage.
Yeah, I'm actually putting it all together first. I don't want to jump the gun. I feel like all these things are kind of just flowing, and then
it will happen. It will happen when the time is right. I think.
And it might actually be she reading your book.
Right.
Exactly. We're back to the book.
Back to the book.
You know, Diatina, do you know what, Diatina, what they said to me is that once we achieve the ability to meet them halfway, and we have open contact, which can happen for anybody at any point, then that's when you begin to regain your memories back. And I think it's going to be very traumatic when that happens, actually, properly.
Well, when the Pleiadians took me, which is why I want to talk to you, Maddie, they were showing me how to remove emotions first before you got your memories back.
Yes, exactly.
They gave me that homework assignment. They're like, before you see, you must remove. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, remove emotion. How do you do that? And then they showed me.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So you guys definitely need to have a chat.
Yes. Absolutely.
Good. Well, isn't it fantastic? I'm loving it, you know, and this is what those Zooms are for, you know, for people like-minded who need to help each other. Absolutely fantastic.
It is, yeah.
And I just want to, you know, I'm a walk-in. I just don't have a recollection like you guys, how it all happened. For me, it doesn't bother me either, so it's is what it is. So it's not my kind of exploration, so I'm not really clued up on that. The only thing I would throw in is just remind yourself you are a free will being in the free will universe, in the free will galaxy, free will planet, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay. So again,
I have another version of abuse, Martina, as well.
Yes, go for it.
This is an unusual one, so I've forgotten about this one. So one thing that I did is I created a dream entity. It was another version of myself. And this dream entity used to go into my friends' dreams and terrorize them. And whenever I got drunk, it would jump into my body and run it around and start beating the shit out of everything and everyone. It was absolutely destructive. And this was a creation of my own, a being that I created in dream time. Yeah. That was one of the most abusive.
Most entities are self-creations. Yeah. Internal programs that then turn into internal demons. Basically, sounds like a little internal. Did you get rid of him? Did you? Is he gone
yes,
now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was, some of the worst things I've ever done in my life were through that particular haunting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's really, really profound for us to look at how we also abused,
Yes.
to recognize that. And then, like Martina says, not jump to any conclusions about it, let it go, but just to recognize it.
Yeah.
I've had a violent life, Martina.
Yeah.
I've had a violent life, and really, without my own violence, it makes it so much easier for me to forgive other people. I've been shown such forgiveness by other people that it would be, ridiculous of me not to share that.
Yes.
It made it easy for me, actually.
Yeah, and you have awareness of that in this lifetime. And for those who don't have awareness in this lifetime, rest assured that we've done it in other lifetimes, because this is in the last 54 million years. We haven't been here just once, and we've been it all.
Yes.
Are those old souls, if you want to call it that. We have done it all. And it is in the abuse revocation, the abuser and the killer.
Yes, I saw that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And there's not even the most, absolutely no point to even go into judgment for that, but acknowledge it. And if you can see it in others, you have definitely done it yourself too. Especially, there's a good trick here, rather, if you hate it, if you judge it in others, then you have not made peace and forgiven yourself that you have done it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So every trigger is one of those, it gets boring when you get to a stage where nothing triggers you anymore. It's like, okay, la, la, la. It's a good sign that, you've done stuff, but then you just have to amp up your awareness levels and go into the next level of creation, like we talked about.
The edge of unknown.
Yeah.
Edge of unknown.
Yeah. Can I just jump in really quick with a question about that?
Yes.
So I have still a very physical response to some people. Very physical response. And I'm wondering how that is with, what you're discussing. Because my intuition is saying no. Or let's say I hear someone on YouTube and they're spouting off and I'm just not in agreement, right? Like, okay, whatever. That's one thing. But if it's someone that I know is intentionally harming another person through what they are saying, that irks me. And I thought it was funny that the page that I chose to write was about the fight and the fighter and letting go of all of that. So I can see, even in myself, I still have to work on that inner warrior and go more towards the dharmic warrior.
Yes. Well,
so, go ahead. It's just that I still get like that, oh, you're harming someone.
Yeah, it's
you're hurting.
It's the old martyr, it's the old empath, the empathic program that's still running.
Do you know what I do on those occasions, Bettina? I imagine that I have a control board in front of me, and this control board has, you know, access to all of my sympathetic, parasympathetic, and so forth. It's very, very simple. And when something like that happens, I just imagine like a volume control, and I just crank it down, and you'll feel it literally, physically.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So if you're watching someone, so if you're watching someone beat a dog, you have a volume control where you just go click, click, click. That's your response.
No, I'd punch him in the jaw. No, I'd punch him in the jaw.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying, you know, like when you can see someone either physically harming, doing it, I see energy. So I can see energetic attacks on anybody. And I have that ultimate reaction, just like someone would see someone, you know, beating a dog or kicking a cat.
The contrast control is far too high. You need to learn to turn the contrast control down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the way to do it is, again, a question. Yeah. When that happens, you got to ask yourself the question, is it for me to interfere here? Is it for me to step in? Is it for me to do anything here? And then with your level of awareness, you'll get a yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. There's one thing with the superior bitch syndrome, yeah, where if you just go straight in to everything because you still got the old empath running, yeah, it's
Crazy
like
Karen.
just think, I need to step in because I can feel it, I can see it, you know, I need to step in, I need to rescue because you can't deal with it yourself. Remind yourself that this is a free will thing. It's all karmic retribution, resolution. So we've come here, all the retributors from everywhere, we've come here for that particular reason, to empower ourselves and stand up. Sometimes it is required, yes, but you've got to ask yourself the question, if it happens all the time, do I need to step in here? Do I need to say something? And sometimes it's just, you know, you can do, when you have violence, when you witness violence like that, okay, you have a level of demonic energy, and that's where you can, for yourself, you can clear the demons. Yeah, just go back to whence you came from, never come back to this body, this reality again, go back to whence you came from, as you're passing. Okay, you don't necessarily need permission, you're not stepping onto sovereign, but you know when you're doing it. So when that happens, sometimes I just clear the demonic energy. I don't get entangled. It's almost like, I like what Andrew said at some stage, you park off the energy in front of their aura, if they want to take it or not. But if you see demonic energy, and sometimes it's like, or you make a call, yeah, or something. But I'll stay in the question, is there something required that I need to do? Is it a contribution for me to get involved? Sometimes it is.
Yeah, but sometimes also just being the witness is enough. Sometimes when somebody realizes that they're being viewed, and the moment that you charge your polarity, I mean, if there's somebody or something that's being abused to the level that it has to stop, it's absolutely unacceptable, and you can make a change however you can, then you'll know the levels. But sometimes just looking at someone, and if you don't add charge and polarity to it, and you're just a sacred neutral observer, then that's when, you know, people will stop. If they're not a complete nutcase, of course.
Yeah. And also, again, start looking at what is the program within yourself that actually attracts situation like that towards you, because it's not necessarily normal that you constantly see people being abused. Okay, so there's something going on. There's still, you know, maybe run that abuse thingy a couple of times and see if that gets out of your system, because remember, the frequency, the vibration and everything that attracts, you still a signature frequency to that. For what reason? And as you change your signature frequency by changing the programming and release all the electromagnetic imprinting that has, you know, the programming left in you, then those people, they will happen, but they won't happen in front of you where you actually feel inclined to step in. I mean, to be honest, I used to be honest, yes, see more of that, and I went straight in it, that type of stuff. Since I'm more in the balance, sacred neutral, it doesn't really happen. I sometimes see, yeah, but just stay in the question.
Film it.
Is there something required, you know, and speak to yourself about it. Something I need to do, and most of the times you get a no. Okay, cool. Let them get on with it. I mean, look, If there's a knifing or something, you call the fucking police, of course, you know, and that type of stuff.
Absolutely. Go nowhere near it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that help? She's still here?
Oh, I'm here. Yeah. It definitely helps. It's an inward battle, and I love what you said about, of course, you know, what you're looking at, what you're attracting, what you see, because it is an energetic thing for me, and I do see that a lot. So I want to explore that, because if I am seeing energetic attacks, how am I creating that or participating in that?
Yeah, from a place of non-judgment. Okay?
Right.
Absolutely not. And yes, the level of awareness comes with responsibility and all of that. And there's also that time now to say, okay, so what am I actually focusing on? What do I want to create? You know, we're supposed to be really taking our intention and our focus towards what we want to create. And I don't necessarily think you want to create witnessing shit like that. That's not making it go away, or that's not saying it's not happening. It's happening. People will choose that, and they will choose it more and more as those energies go crazy. The question is it your purpose? Is it your mission to get involved in that? No. Or I don't know. Maybe
I get so reviled by some people's behavior these days that I just walk away. I've lost so many friends over the last 24 months, and rightly so. You know, for me, I just, if I know someone has that ability within them, and you see it more than once, and it's just not someone you need around. You know.
Yeah.
It's that thing, choosing your terrain, choosing your environment. I'm Austrian. The W sometimes comes. So yeah, and I had to learn that, because I was like, challenge, okay, give it to me. What can I do? You know, how can I work on myself to not attract it? Well, it's out there. And now at this level of exploration, it's like, just don't go there.
Yeah.
Just don't go where you find these people. Remove yourself. Choose it. You are the sovereign being of the now. Choose who you're around and who you're not around.
Or tell them to fucking stop. One of the two. If it's someone that you can't be, if it's somebody that I have to be around, then I won't just sit there and let it happen in silence. I will say something. And sometimes that within itself is enough to either stop it or to create the catalyst for separating, you know, separating from whoever it is.
And trusting your own awareness, trusting your knowingness. Ask the question, what's required, and then choose that.
And maybe look at, you know, your own energy. Maybe that there's something in that you might need to come to terms with, from maybe some sort of energetic abuse somewhere in the past. Maybe that's why it keeps showing up for you, and that maybe you just need to, as Martina was saying, you don't need to go into a whole lot of detail about it, but just kind of release it and let it go and uncreate it. There might be something in that would help it as well, you know.
Yes, a pattern, Mary, a pattern.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Run the abuse thing a couple of times and add something. Whatever comes up for you, add it. It's 5 pages already. It's quite comprehensive, but I'm sure you got more to add. Add it and make it, you know, part of your thing that you do on a weekly basis, just to let it run. And then see, and most importantly, Tina, and for all of us really, is acknowledge when the changes are happening, okay? Because we do stuff so quickly, we might run this, and all of a sudden you're actually no longer coming across these people, but you already forgot about it, you know, that you actually make a note of it. It's like, oh my God, yeah, that's a victory, isn't it? Oh, I don't attract people like that anymore. Tick, tick. Write it down, and then celebrate the victories. Isn't that what Andrew always says?
Yes.
I'm lousy at celebrating victories. That's why I have to say it. That's why I put it in there, especially with the abuse. Yeah. Victories and abuse, it's like the antidote in a way.
Yeah.
Yes.
And abuse is in all of our lives. So we're not talking about sexual abuse. Just, you know, abuse is in all of our lives, and we've both been the victim and the victimizer in other lives. So
done it. Tick.
Yeah.
Just hold on, Tina, you're saying, where is the abuse revocation? It's nowhere at the moment. I will load it up together with the audio, so it will be on the earthnouveau.com website, where you can find the audio probably tomorrow morning or tomorrow at some stage. And then I also put the abuse on it, and you can download it. We have a compendium, or what's it called, compendium page, where all the documents that we're sharing are on there. And then from there you can share it, you can adjust it, you can do what you want.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matty. Last thingy before we go. I'm so hungry. I need some food. Did you want to say something, Matty?
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. I was just, I
No,
can
say
natter on like an old
it,
lady
say
all
it,
day.
say
Can't
it.
wait until next week.
We can't, because we're not going to talk
no,
about it.
I was just commenting that. Yeah, I was just commenting that sometimes, when what you look at looks back at you, and sometimes you can bring things into your field of experience through the media that you choose as well. There's times where sometimes I feel bored, and I'll sit down and go onto Netflix or something, and everything's violence. Everything is violence and danger and fear and fucking attacking people. And sometimes I'll just for the sake of curing a little bit of boredom, I feel like I've utterly abused myself by what I've chosen to look at. Because my world is babies, puppy dogs, birds and trees and beautifulness.
Yes.
That's what my actual day-to-day experience is. But yet sometimes I choose to fill it with awful murder and this horrible violence that they put onto the screen.
And I think
then
that's
of course
interesting
that reflects in your life.
That you said you feel you've abused yourself by watching it, because I do think there's something about watching that affects you energetically. It's
Very
senseless,
so.
I know, it's senseless beating and whatever they're doing, but it does affect you. It's the visual aspect of it. If I'm not looking at it, it doesn't affect me.
You have a chemical reaction, don't you? You have a chemical
reaction.
Yes. You do, yes.
Yes.
Actually in that experience.
And also the abuse, the self-abuse, is that you are numbing yourself. There's something that you're numbing.
Exactly.
Not always. If you really use it for recreation and say, hey, look, I'm just going to knock myself out now because that's what I need. You do it from a choice place, then that's slightly different than when you do it habitually, because, I'm so bored now, and
or out of
I'm
curiosity.
Yeah, that type of stuff. But there was something else I was going to say. What were you talking, Matty? You were saying something.
Self-abuse from programs, films.
Oh, another self-abuse is what I've been finding, and talking about energy harvesting, when you talk to the wrong people.
Exactly.
I'm finding it so self-abusive now. I can feel it when you talk, because I know you guys now, and I'm doing these Zooms, and I walk away. I mean, I can talk for 2 hours. If I wouldn't be hungry, we could talk for another 10 hours.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I walk away and I'm like, woohoo! I feel good. Yeah. I feel inspired. I feel energized, And then you talk to that one person and it's like, oh God, I'm exhausted. Just after 5 minutes.
Yes.
Now, don't do it.
I have learned that too, because I think I walk away and I'm open, and I think it's important to sort of seal up a little bit, because you can actually abuse yourself by
for me now it's self-abuse. And how do you get out of it? Well, simple. Okay, I really gotta go, my daughter needs me, or just find that. Don't get over yourself what manipulation is, because if it's a win-win situation, because they just want to dump on you anyway, okay? And if it's not you, they find the next one in 5 minutes, to dump. So manipulate yourself very kindly out of the situation. So a little white lie, there's nothing.
I found a way to lie.
Go for it. Yeah, tell us.
I found a way to lie till it's almost true.
This is going on YouTube, so everybody's going to know that you are a liar.
and there's a skill as well that I've learned, whereas I can tell the truth but not tell it in all its entirety. So it could be misconstrued as a lie, but it's actually a truth. It's just a vague one, but it still covers me on that.
We could have a whole Zoom on that.
Oh, that's a cool skill. My wife now knows that I do it, so I'm in big trouble. She's learned it.
Yes.
Yeah. I know, so a bit of manipulation, win-win situation, So
just taking care of yourself.
It's taking care of yourself. It's part of the spiritual cleanliness tools in our toolbox.
Yeah.
So anyone wants to say anything else to finish it off? Good. then I will say that I love you and I thank you for coming on, and I really enjoyed the Zoom.
Yes.
And we'll put it up on Earth Nouveau. And hello and thank you for coming on, all the new lovely people. And who haven't spoken, I hope I see you again, and you will speak, and or not. And yes, we'll see you next week, Wednesday, 5 o'clock UK time.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank
you guys
so much.
Cheers.
Bye. Ciao, ciao. Bye.
Bye.
Have a good week.
You too.
You too.
Bye.